Welcome to Down South Football Podcast. How y'all doing tonight, man? It's been a great Thursday, man, and we wanted to come to y'all talk to you about the Texas and Oklahoma. But first, y'all only see is just two of us tonight. It's me, your boy Renard Williams, and at I am DJ Double O's, Mr. Ben Dennis. Ben, what's going on with you, man?
Man, what's up, man? Hey, man, look, this is a beautiful Thursday. You know what I'm saying? We done got some great news. And again, man, hey, man, look, there are a lot of people. There are a lot of people from each conference that are feeling very the shirt says it all. The shirt says it all. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people that's feeling that way right now. But we're going to get into it, no. We are going to get into all of this because this has been a great day for college football, depending on which way you want to look at it.
I won't say for the whole of college football. I would just say it's been a great day. If your conference is in the southeastern part of the country, better known as the SEC. I think it's been a great day for them. So let's talk about it for a couple seconds here.
Okay.
On this little short 20-minute episode. So we got Texas and Oklahoma officially joined the conference, even though when we heard 2 weeks a couple of weeks ago, we knew it was about to happen. Most of this stuff was formalities, and really what's been happening is that Texas and Oklahoma have been doing these negotiations with the SEC for about a year, apparently.
Yeah. Yep.
So with that being said, I've gotten all kind of like DMs and questions, and people keep saying, well, why would we want to do that? First thing is you got to get out your feelings as a fan.
Remove that. Take that hat off.
Take that hat off. Put that hat over here.
Put that over there. Put that hat over there.
Put your commissioner hat on. And Greg Sackett said, "I'm gonna do what's best for my conference."
For my conference.
But
in Texas and Oklahoma, we're gonna do what's best for us.
For us, even though they ruined the Big 12.
So we ain't worried about that. They ain't
worried about that.
We ain't worried about burning none of them bridges. Hey, man, it is what it is. We're not worried about none of that. We ain't worried about that. We moving on.
All I'm going to say, we're going to talk about the money. Let's talk about the money part first.
Okay.
The estimates, once everything is in place and Oklahoma and Texas are in the conference, have 6 or 7 of the top brands in college football. You're talking about going from, I think the SEC last year was $773 million on an average year, $45.5 million
per team, 45.5 per team.
So you've seen some estimates as high as with the new with the new ESPN contract, finally we're getting away from CBS, that robbery. We're going to talk about that too, and everything that's going to come along with those two brands, and with everything the SEC was already bringing, you're talking about. Possibly, these are just estimates, 1.4 billion with a B. So being first thing, let's talk about the money. Let's get your reaction on that, and then we can go from there.
And you know what? I'm gonna take it for people so they can really fully understand, grasp all this, because I got the demographic up right now.
Right.
The Big 12. Forget what's gonna happen in the future. Let's just stick on what happened last year. The Big 12 distributed $409 million, which was about 37 to 40 million per team.
Not too bad.
Not too bad. But just remember, I just said 409. The SEC last year, with the teams that they had, 768 million.
And let me add to that, SEC had 14 teams, and the Big 12, who hasn't had 12 teams in a long time, they're still the Big 12, had what, 10?
10.
Okay.
So let that sink in. So people just, I don't know about you, you know what I'm saying? I'm sure I do, but money is money. Whether you're talking about 5 million, 10 million, 15 million, that's extra money. And when you look at these schools and we always talk about, football and basketball taking care of the rest of the school. When you're talking about another $5 or $10 million, guess what that does, people? That helps everybody else. It helps with more facilities. It helps with the other sports. It takes care of everybody else. Right. So when you just look at the money just from that, not even talking about what it's going to possibly be, just from that alone, they was to walk in right now and get what they were already. If they were to get what the SEC was getting right now, you're talking about an increase of anywhere from $8 to $9 million. So it's like, if you're Oklahoma and Texas,
right? I think the financial impact is going to be doubled. I really think that. I really think it's going to go almost basically from 45 to a possibility between 70 and 80 million distribution per team. And you heard people talking about the money, like you were saying, Ben. You heard people talking about saying, well, if I'm this team, I'm going to lead because I'm never going to win. If I'm Kentucky or these teams, I'm not going to lead. Pause. Who's about to lead 30? Who's about to leave $30-40 million on the table? Because these people are all competitors and they're all trying to compete. It's not like these South Carolinas or Kentucky's and whoever else you want to put in that category. No disrespect to any school. I'm just saying the people that they want to put in those categories, like they're going to just stop competing. Like they're going to just like say, we don't need an extra $30-40 million in this environment right now. Like, and dip and go where?
And then to go even deeper with that, to your point, it's not like the SEC can kick them out.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like they can't just say, you know what, Vandy in Kentucky, y'all okay in basketball, but football y'all suck. We're gonna go ahead and get rid of y'all and we're gonna bring in Clemson and Florida State to replace y'all. They can't do that. So it's like you said, they're not gonna go anywhere. And then you got those teams who are gonna benefit from this as well. Again, to go with all of their other sports and everything else. We love to talk about the NIL and everything that's going on with it, but football and basketball still pays the bills for everybody else. So the more money we can generate, the more money that the conference can generate, guess what, people? That helps the softball team, volleyball team. It helps all of those sports. So you can't look at this as a negative if you are a Texas and Oklahoma person.
And and before we go back to the UT and Oklahoma standpoint, I think what a lot of people have to do is really look at it from more of a business standpoint.
Right.
And I understand this is college athletics. This is a lot of things that's going on, but you have to understand this is more about a business move and actually getting ahead of what was going on. There's been people are ripping the SEC for this expansion, and like Greg Sankey came out and said there's been talk of expansion in whether it's a playoff or whether it's anything else. Like this is just kind of where we are with, like, it's almost like saying if you got this brand and I can if I can take an Amazon and I can merge it with a Tesla, like for the most part, it's probably going to happen for the benefit of the game and the benefit of the matchups and the benefit of everything. Now, is it great for everybody in college football? My answer to that is no.
Right. There's going to be a lot of people that from other conferences that's going to side eye this. And then, like you said, when you talk about expansion, this isn't new. Like, we heard about Texas and Oklahoma State, and somebody else was going to go to the Pac-12 back in 2010. But things happen. Things happen. Things change. We'll get into that in a minute. Longhorn, things happen, and it didn't go a plan in the court. And like we know, who was that? Was that Colorado? And somebody else ended up jumping ship, and so. It was in place.
Colorado, Utah, and somebody else ended up going instead of the
they
Texas
ended up going instead. But like you said, that was talked about 10 years. We're in 2021. That was talked about 10 years ago. Yeah. So it's like, don't get mad at it. I mean, even though I'm not necessarily anti-SEC, don't get mad at the SEC for coming back and saying, "Hey, look, why not?" The Pac-12 show was talking about it 10 years ago.
Yeah. Now, before we can spend a lot of time on that, but we're going to wrap it up, and then y'all tune into the full show to get more of that. But let's talk about the next thing that you've been hearing is the cease and desist letter from the Big 12 to the ESPN, basically saying that ESPN had a hand in this. And I'm saying like, yeah, duh. But
I mean, we saw what ESPN, the power move they made when they bought the CBS right.
Go ahead. But
no, I was saying no.
Go ahead. What I was going to say was, so what was ESPN's involvement in a interesting article / podcast came out today? Ben, I think you listened to all of it from former ESPN employee Dan Le Batard, who had on former ESPN president John Skipper. And you can expound a little bit more on what John Skipper basically said, Ben. What did John Skipper, the former ESPN president, say when Le Batard asked him, "Is this ESPN fault?" And he basically said, "No comment, I guess."
No comment. Now, mind you, people, when y'all go and listen to the show, they had been talking casually for 10, 12 minutes up until that point. And then he pretty much was like, when he put him on the spot and he asked him, he was like, man, no comment. And he kind of laughed about it and talking about it because at the end of the day, Big 12, you can get upset all you want. You know what I'm saying? But this was in the making. And you had we talked about it in the last show. Texas has always kind of been they've been grumpy for a while. So it ain't like it took a whole lot to poke Texas and say, hey man, you know what? We working on this over here. If we get this situated, we'd love for y'all to do what you need to do.
And other thing is, like, you can say what you want to say about Texas, and we're going to get into it because Texas definitely has some issues. But you can say what they want, but they are still a brand. They are still a huge brand throughout the college athletics landscape. We've been making fun talking about the whole Texas is back thing, but this is more than just football, people. That's the thing about
basketball is solid too.
Basketball, their baseball team is good. They have an overall really, really good athletic program, and you have to understand that Sankey is thinking about football, but he's also thinking about programs and moving forward into the future of where we are. So I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and say that ESPN didn't have any involvement at all. I think that would be foolish of me to say that. Now, how much involvement did they have? Did they tread on legal lines for stuff like that? But Texas and Oklahoma been talking to SEC for a year, so this is not it's a shock to most people figuring it out now, but it's not really a big shock. But another reaction. Go ahead.
And I was gonna say, my thing is, when you look at this in this totality, like we said, things like this have always been always are in motion long before.
Way long
before it's leaked and before it comes out. And I get it. I know a lot of people are saying, well, they were already in the Texas market with Texas A&M. Let's be clear, people. Texas and Texas A&M is a huge matchup. That is a huge rivalry. Like
that has not played in years. They agreed not to play.
They agreed not to play. That is a huge rivalry. Now, yeah, if you Texas A&M, you're probably not feeling the best right now. But you changed your tune. You did change your tune. But at the end of the day, it's like, hey man, look, that Texas market, to get that Austin market and to get that, look, man, College Station is College Station, Austin is Austin, and you can view that however you want to view it. You know what I'm saying? But
College Station is a little bit different of a town. Austin is really a big college town. There's no disrespect to College Station or anything like that. But in this market, man, to have both of them together is deal. So what I've been hearing also all day, something else we're gonna hit on real quick, is a lot of people are talking about what about the Longhorn Network? And what about then now they got to pay to get out. Well,
as we found out, who backs the Longhorn Network?
If you didn't know this, I don't know why you didn't know it. ESPN.
Oh, I didn't know it. One company that has 4 letters, if you didn't know.
ESPN might take that $150 million they saving from that Longhorn Network, allegedly. And finance a buyout, so this could be 2022 or 2023. My money right now is on 2023. I'm just saying that a lot of this legal stuff that's coming up is not anything that's really new. I think they kind of knew what was going on, and the stuff about Texas, doing this and doing that. Texas know that they're coming to the SEC. Because Texas is kind of more of the one, even though Oklahoma has some issue too. Texas is kind of the one that kind of like get the special treatment to me.
Special treatment, and they have been like. But
that's
as I remember, who ain't here would say they ain't won ish in. It's so look. We understand they ain't won ish in forever, but the brand that they have been getting a lot of preferential treatment.
They got a lot. They got a lot of preferential treatment in the Big 12. I mean, you can even start with what we're just talking about right now. We're talking about the Longhorn Network.
The game of network.
And they got their own network. They're doing that type of stuff like that. So it's just all these things are kind of rolling together when we're talking about the impact of Texas and OU. But when you look at it, my question is, who's next? Are we done at 16 in the SEC?
And if you are, and here's the thing, and it's not because I am a Florida State fan. I want to clear the air with that. It ain't about that. if you are Florida State and you are Clemson, Notre Dame don't want to join you. Notre Dame don't want to come to the ACC. They holding steadfast. You gave them a bone. They didn't want to join the ACC. And if you
And
Clemson and you Florida State and you sitting here and you looking right next door in your landscape.
And Notre Dame is one of the teams that rumored that the SEC is going to reach out to, because what I was told and what I heard was that, oh, you can no longer think geography. Like that's done. That's what I've heard that from someone else, and I've heard that actually on the airwaves. It was like, if you think in geography, like I think you're just matter. I think in the long run, I'm not saying it's going to be USC and the SEC. I'm just saying I don't think that's going to be like, oh no, we can't go to Indiana and get Notre Dame, or we can't go to here, we can't get Ohio State. You know, I'm not saying that Ohio State fans calm down. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it's just, I've heard it, you know, that you should not think about geography.
And then, you know, now with Notre Dame, what I did find out was, you know, they kind of tied into their grants rights, whatever you want to call it. They're tied into the ACC until 2036. That they have an agreement in place that if they were to go from being independent, then they're supposed to join the ACC.
And I would think they do it anyway, just because they don't like sharing their money. Which is part of the reason why they're independent. They're really kind of independent.
And as bad as it is right now, I think the ACC would just be like, you know what, cool, y'all can keep whatever y'all got going on with NBC, because whenever y'all playing one of our teams, guess what? We playing on NBC. Like a couple of years ago when Florida State played them up there, that game was on NBC. That game wasn't on the ACC network. It went on ESPN. That game was on NBC. Yep. But if it was me, if I just had to take I know we got to go. If it was me, if I was the ACC, I would go out to Oklahoma State and Notre Dame. If I'm trying to keep my conference together, I would go for Oklahoma State and Notre Dame.
I think honestly, you have a lot of contingency plans that's being made. I think we was talking about this before it even happened. Mm-hmm. And for all y'all that was in my inbox and I said it was going to be 2 weeks, and y'all told me I was crazy. Y'all, you can go to that same inbox and say you sorry. They're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. But I mean, all that being said, let's shift it back a little bit. Okay. So, my belief right now is the 2023. It could be 2022 with the Longhorn Network and doing all that kind of stuff like that. If they're going to come in, people ask me, like, I think it's the matchups. I think it's whether you like the SEC or you hate the SEC, or there's SEC fatigue, favoritism. You cannot sit here and deny, for the most part, out the whole conference, you know, that there's going to be. They've been the most dominant conference, even taking Alabama away. They, you know, like talent-wise and all those other kind of stuff like that.
Auburn, LSU, and Florida have still won national titles. So even if Florida, Auburn, LSU, and Florida, even if you take Alabama away, you say, okay, put them on the shelf. Auburn has won and played in the national championship game. LSU has won multiple national championships. Florida has won. So it's like.
And even though people want to say Georgia ain't won nothing, you're not going to dispute who Georgia is as a power right now. That's just not going to happen. And you never know what's going to happen. They played
for a national championship, so it's like, you know, and we just mentioned it without even saying the success of what Alabama has done. When you start talking about the other teams who have still won national championships, if you date back to what the BCS, you date back to that. Tennessee, I mean. 98 Tennessee. I mean, I know people look at Tennessee crazy now, but hey, they won a national championship in 98. Like, we ain't that far removed from those championships.
I mean, we already know, truth be told, well, people want to admit it or not, what the SEC bring. But we got two more things that we're gonna get out here. This is, like I said, it's a short. This is one about what we call our Down South Football Podcast short. So we'll talk more about this on as the weeks come on, because it's just so much going on right now. Right. Something that's kind of light, something that's kind of funny.
Fine.
Something that's kind of funny to me is what Steve Spurrier said today.
What did he
say? Steve Spurrier was asked about Texas joining the SEC, and he basically said, "Well, They couldn't win their own conference, so why should I be worried about them? Basically, kind of summing that up like that way. Basically, like, hey, yeah, they didn't win the Big 12, so I don't know. I don't know what to tell you about that. I just thought that was a funny little thing that, like, oh, that you want to talk about shots fired, man, but that was definitely a shot fired.
It's gonna be MotorCon too, because like you said, Texas is like Oklahoma is just kind of like flying under the radar. We know what Oklahoma is.
Mm-hmm.
We know what Oklahoma has done.
Right.
They're one of the teams that's been consistently in the playoffs. Now they haven't won, but they've been consistently there. Right. But it's like they kind of like floating under the radar, because whenever you hear this, it's like Texas, Oklahoma. But most so you're hearing more about Texas, which is from a Spurrier aspect is hilarious, because he's right. He's like, I mean, okay, they've been losing to this team. This team that's Oklahoma done won the Big 12 7 years in a row.
So I think it's 6 or 7.
It's 6 or 7 years in a row. So,
but that I just thought that was a funny note for that. But one more thing, I got Texas fans. I know y'all are proud. I know y'all love your school, and I'm not saying y'all not a great school, but this elevate that you've elevated the SEC thing. Like, if you elevated, why was you reaching out?
Vince Young was 15 years ago.
2007, if I'm correct, right?
6 or 7.
6 or 7.
14 or 15 years ago.
I just want y'all to do that, but I just want to do that. But we're not gonna get into that today. But bottom line is, in summing this whole thing up, I think Oklahoma and Texas, you like I said before, you got to remove your fan from it, and you got to look at it from Greg Sankey's standpoint. Greg Sankey is looking at this as a business move.
Right.
Some say it's a shark business move, but hey, it's over with. It's done. It's gonna cause an effect for everybody else to see.
Domino. Yeah, everybody else needs to. They don't need to. I think a lot of other schools, a lot of other conferences, the wheels are turning,
and the movement is not done. But
nowhere near.
Hey, but like I said, man, we're gonna get out of here. This was just a brief short from me and Ben. Shout out to Tuck. Shout out to Dave, man. It's still the 4 of us. Hey, it's just that we wanted to get on here and talk about this. We're gonna try to do more of these shorts, man, and just try to get y'all more information. But continue to follow us on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, and on Twitter at DSF Podcast, Down South Football Podcast. You can find us on all platforms. And if nothing else, man, keep going, because we got some other things coming for y'all. We got some other things coming for you. But man, once again, this is Renard Williams, and you see at I am DJ Double Dose. You see the Twitter handles right there. Hit us up, and we'll be back with y'all soon, man. Peace.